Hey everybody, it's Kneecap here, and in this video we are on the PTR, and I've been messing around with the Rep Paladin tier set stuff here on the PTR. So, worth noting, as always, this is super early. The PTR just came out, first of all. Second of all, I'm just one person. I can't fully test this out by just hitting a training dummy or anything like that. But I can give some initial feedback, some initial thoughts, how it feels, all this kind of stuff, right? So if you haven't looked into the tier sets at all yet, let's first talk about what the tier set is in patch 11.1. Worth noting, these are going to sound very RNG, and that is kind of the point. So we're going to be in like a casino for the raid, and everything's supposed to kind of be a little bit super RNG, and we'll talk about how that affects us with our tier set after we get into it. So your 2 set. Your spells and abilities have a chance to activate a winning streak. So winning streak is like the DPS mechanic. Increasing the damage of your Templar's Verdict and Divine Storm by 2%, stacking up to 10 times. Spending Holy Power on damaging abilities has a 12% chance to remove your winning streak. So you stack up this damage buff, and then each time you go to stack it, you could also lose it. And so the 4 set is... when you lose your winning streak, you get the holy power spent back, and for 4 seconds you cannot lose holy power and the damage, you cannot lose holy power. So you have 4 seconds of divine purpose, more or less, and the damage of your holy power abilities are increased by 10%. So it's as if you have some of the stacks from the first set, and you just get to spam it a little bit. So let's talk about how this works in general. So first of all, there's really nothing to track or gameplay to change. Maybe there'll be a talent change with this based on some of the stuff I was messing around with. But gameplay wise, there's nothing really to track. You could track your winning streak, but because there's no way to guarantee it, because it's all RNG, you can't just keep up your winning streak, right? You could be on 2 stacks of it and lose it. You could get all the way to the max stacks and just never lose it and just be doing tons of damage, right? And so there's no way to guarantee it. So you don't want to hold cooldowns for it, because you never know, when you're gonna have it, when you're gonna lose it, all this kind of stuff. So yeah, since you can't really predict it, there's no real gameplay change. One thing I'll say is, especially with the 4 set, so the 4 seconds where you can just keep spamming Final Verdict, right? For example, if I'm hitting a single target dummy, spamming Final Verdict, that is something I was thinking about with that is with Divine Purpose. So Divine Purpose, a big reason I'm in Herald because I was testing out Herald, which actually is a bit competitive with it as well. I wouldn't say it's better though, single target, but it is kind of competitive. So Divine Purpose. So the big reason you play Divine Purpose with Templar in general, now they changed the talent tree since the guide video or whatever, original guide video of last patch. But so now Divine Purpose is just kind of better than Sacred Strength. However, with the fact that you're just spamming these things over and over again and you get them free for 4 seconds, Divine Purpose, I'm not sure. I was trying to track how it worked, but I don't know. I must not have quick enough eyes or something, or I need a weak aura with it up in front of my face. But I couldn't tell if Divine Purpose got priority over the free ones or not, right? Because it technically should. And so therefore, you have this little weird overlap with that, where you're not getting a ton of value from the Divine Purpose, at least in that window. And so I was wondering about Sacred Strength here. Again, I have no way. I could not do enough simulations probably to figure this out, but simulations meaning me just doing it over and over again enough times for both of them. But especially with how RNG it is, and there's huge variance when you test this out, and you can really high roll. So Sacred Strength could be an option here. The Herald of the Sun's interesting again because you are just focusing solely on mostly on your Templar's Verdict or Divine Storm, and so since Templar, you're using Hammer of Light when you can. It's only 1 GCD or whatever, but it could be 5 Holy Power. It's not, Hammer of Light's not tying directly into your tier set bonus, whereas Herald of the Sun would be tying directly into it, especially for AOE. So this is just a hot early prediction here, but already Herald of the Sun was still the best pure AOE thing. But because of the tier set, I could see Herald being maybe moving back into the meta of Mythic Plus. The only issue with that, of course, is that Hammer of Light and Templar are such priority damage that sometimes that's just valued more in Mythic Plus. Even if one does a little bit more damage, being able to kill the mob I want to kill is more valuable. So there's still like give and take there. But because spamming Divine Storm is so powerful in Mythic Plus, right? Especially when you're Herald of the Sun, where most of your damage is your Divine Storm. So getting more Divine Storms, and your Divine Storms are super powerful, and it's just, it kind of lends itself to that. So my prediction would be that Herald of the Sun is going to, it's already the best in pure AoE, but it might even overtake some for Mythic Plus back to where it was at the beginning of patch 11.0. That'd be a little bit of a prediction there. Some other things that I was noticing with the tier set, I wanted to test out just for all the people. I remember all the comments from season 1, and I know that a lot of our Paladins are not a huge fan of Radiant Glory because the tier set was of the last tier set was Wake of Ashes increases your damage, Radiant Glory kind of feeds into that tier set with the time overlap and everything like that. So I did some testing without Radiant Glory, and I will say, at least on my end, it did not go very well. The reality is having 30-second Wake of Ashes and Wake of Ashes being such a large percent of our damage, and 30-second execution sentence for single target, it's just so powerful to not sync them up that, yeah, we're either going to be Radiant Glory people for a long time, or they're going to have to retune some things, or these are going to be locked in talents for a very long time, I feel like. So we'll see. You know, it's a pretty big gap. It's like a 10% difference, I would guess. Like, again, numbers, I'm just one person trying stuff out, so you'd have to run simulations and stuff to get the actual numbers, but somewhere around that mark, I would say it's pretty substantive. Nonetheless, it's substantive, right? Even if it's not 10%, it's a lot. And so I don't know how they would do that, but Radiant Glory is probably still going to be the play. Honestly, most of the talents are still the play. There isn't much things to change to like benefit our Holy Power Expenders any more than what we kind of already have. You know, maybe figuring a way to get Inquisitor's Ire if the Divine Storm that's projected from your Empyrean Legacy is also empowered by your tier set bonus. Maybe there's a way to play that into it. But other than that, I couldn't really come up with any other way. Empyrean Power maybe even, but coming up with ways basically to have the tier set directly affect your overall damage and stuff like that. But, you know, that stuff could be played around with. There's plenty of time. We are very early in the PTR, and those could be, you know, those are just some of the things it could be. Also, I wanted to point out, if you can see here, the tier set actually looks really, really cool. Maybe it's just because it's on a dwarf. Dwarf bodies are kind of wide, so they kind of make the tier sets or the armor look cool sometimes. The shoulders were cool. I always thought that, but I wasn't really vibing the tier set that much. But the helm actually looks really cool in game here. So I wanted to point that out too, that I thought this actually looked really cool. This is the mythic one. This is what's on the PTR as you test out the mythic one for whatever reason. I don't think that's normally the case, but yeah, so that was really cool as well. When it comes to power level of the tier set, again, please take it with a grain of salt. But for me, I was basically just getting around numbers that you would normally get for tier sets. So like maybe like 10% or so, 10 to 12%. And this is very rough guess, right? But with a high, and I mentioned this earlier, a high ceiling, right? And pretty much kind of like a low floor or a similar floor. So it's very hard to low roll this Ret Paladin tier set. You're pretty much going to do more or less the same damage all the time. You can hit the domain for 10 minutes and you just do the same damage overall. But there is a chance that you could high roll. Now, I couldn't pinpoint exactly what the high roll is, but I have some, thoughts and theories on what it could be. So one of the things for high rolling on this tier set is for the 4 set when it procs. If that 4 set procs, so first of all, the high roll will be you keep your winning streak going and it never deflates, because then you're just doing tons of damage, right, with your abilities. So that's one thing, of course. But when it does break, you'd kind of want it to break like maybe into the very end of your execution sentence, and you just get to spam some more verdicts into your execution sentence at the very end of it, and then just build up a new winning streak and have that new winning streak ready to go for your next set of cooldowns. And that's kind of how you can kind of flood it. In one of my things, I overperformed so much, probably 5%, maybe even more, than like normal ones that I was doing. And like it was incredible. Like it was one of my first ones I did as well, and I'm like, holy crap, this tier set is broken. It's gonna have to be nerfed really bad. I don't think that's the case anymore after doing it more and more times, but you can high roll it, and it feels kind of cool. Like, so I'm not a big fan of RNG. I know there's people that are just gonna hate these tier sets, all of them, all the DPS tier sets. They're going to hate them all. I get that, because some people are just like staunchly against RNG. They want something to track. They want something to min-max. I get that. That's kind of cool. And I'm with you on that. But I will say this felt kind of cool, man. It did feel kind of powerful. You could feel the power when your winning streak is staying active. When you're on a high winning streak and you're just never losing it, you can actually kind of feel that power, whether it's from your numbers or for whatever. Like, you just are like, wow, I'm like doing some big damage right here. So I kind of like vibed with that a lot. And, I had a lot more fun with it than I thought I would. Now, this is also the first, couple days of trying this out. So maybe in the future, I won't think it's as fun to do. But it's low maintenance. It's low effort as far as that goes. And I've been trying to think of things you could track. Like, you could be like, oh, I'm going to hold my cooldowns until, I get a high winning streak. But then what if you just lose it right at the wrong moment? Now, could there be a thing where it's best to pop something when you lose your winning streak, when you have the free 4 seconds of using it? That's a possibility. Those are things to look into at least, right? And, I'll be looking into those, and I'm sure many people will. The best thing that we can do, whenever you're testing stuff out, is have a bunch of people working on something, and, different people are going to find different, like, little things, different bugs, different all this kind of stuff, right? And so, that's the best possible thing. One person can't really do everything, although there are some people who are insanely good at testing stuff, I will admit. And in those cases, those one people can accomplish some pretty good things. But generally speaking, that's not the case. So overall, looks cool. Feels okay. If you factor in, if you hate RNG, you're just not gonna like it. But if you are like, okay, I'm gonna give it a chance, whatever, feels okay to pretty good. Seems relatively powerful, like normal power, right? Normal power of a tier set. Basically, the power of last tier set is probably similar to the power of this tier set, with this one having a chance to high roll though. So maybe with enough high rolls on average, this one would be stronger. If it's too strong, they're gonna nerf it though, so that doesn't really matter. So power level probably about the same. And yeah, overall, fine with it. Going to be testing out more, testing out other stuff here on the PTR, maybe trying some different talents again, some playing around with some things like that to see if we get any talent changes. But just want to give my initial thoughts on this once I got on the PTR here to get my hands on this thing. So hopefully more Ret Paladin content coming soon. I know I think a lot of people watching may be fiending for some Ret Paladin content. I know I am, as someone who makes it but also enjoys it. I was as well. So hopefully more stuff coming soon. We've kind of been we had a lot of attention on us. We had a rework, then we had some updates to the rework and this and that. Now we haven't had a ton of attention lately, so we're not getting quite as many Ret Paladin infused things, but that's okay. So that'll be it for this one, guys. As always, I do ask you to subscribe to the channel. It helps me out so much. If you're already a subscriber, I encourage you to check out the Patreon. And other than that, everybody, have a good one.